Okay, welcome to the annual meeting for the Franklin County Economic Development Corporation on January 18th, 2022. Maria, could you do roll call for the meeting?
Okay, Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran,
Present.
James Ellis,
Here.
Stephen Ehrman,
Here.
Madeline Fleury,
Present.
Justice Martin,
Present.
Archie McKee.
Here.
Also present, Jeremy Evans, Maria Bourgeois, Russ Kenyon, Rachel Child, and Sean Kittle.
Great, thank you, Maria. I will now turn the time over to the Governance Committee Chairperson, Jim Ellis, to go through the nomination and election of officers.
Thank you, Jeremy. The Governance Committee recognizes the contributions of so many different people, but we are ready to appoint or to suggest a slate of officers for this year of 2022. Justice Martin as chairman, Archie McKee as treasurer, myself, Jim Ellis, as vice chairman, and Sherry Boye as secretary. Also, with the forbearance of the incoming chairman, we'd suggest Mike Doran as assistant treasurer, Steve Ehrman as assistant secretary. That's the slate that we recommend. Are there any comments? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? If not,
Thank you.
if not, the chair will, or the chairman of the governance committee will ask Sherry Boye, our outgoing secretary, to cast one ballot for the slate of officers. Sherry?
I thought I was still secretary.
It's a different meeting now. We're gonna.
Oh, okay. I make a motion to accept what you just said.
Oh, God, Sherry, I love that. Well, anyway, all right, Sherry has,
I am sorry, I still have brain fog.
Sherry has cast one ballot as secretary for the slate of officers. Justice Martin as chairman, Archie McKee as treasurer, myself as vice chair, Sherry Boye as secretary, and Mike Doran as assistant treasurer, Steve Ehrman as assistant secretary. Having done that, then that slate of officers is elected, and I will turn the rest of this section over to Justice Martin.
I'm just curious as to what Sherry's position actually was. Was she the outgoing secretary, or was she the secretary-elect, or the interim secretary, or the secretary pro tem? Just
All the above.
Whatever
An old
fits.
auditor. You're just an old auditor. Let me suggest to you what's happened. We're in a second group of officers, and we still have a third group to name afterwards. So Sherry Boye, as the secretary, outgoing secretary, is asked to cast one ballot for this slate of officers for the EDC. Okay?
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, buddy.
Very good. So, I will call to order the Franklin County EDC meeting. The roll call is the same as in our annual meeting. As far as committees for the EDC, they will be the same as the IDA. So we read through them in the IDA. If you have any questions, Maria will be sending out the committee's assignments for 2022. So with that, I will. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, can I ask a question? Are we the LDC or the EDC?
We are now the EDC officially.
And when did that officially take place? How far
When
behind
did we
am I?
approve that resolution? I think we approved it in November and it actually occurred sometime in December legally.
Okay.
Good question. So I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Before we do that, I have one change. There was an error when I sent out your agendas. Resolution 2022-03, I named it wrong on the agenda. It actually is to approve Franklin County Small Business Assistance Program Sub-Recipient Agreement. So I need that to be noted.
Thank you. And there will also be an executive session as well in the EDC meeting. So I entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes and additions.
Jim Ellis, I suggest
Steve,
that we adopt them.
Jim and Steve,
Steve, second.
any other thoughts or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, will this be a good time? Again, welcome, John and Rachel. Great to have you on board. Would this be a good time for them to share?
Rachel, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel Childs. I see a lot of familiar faces on the board, but for those I haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you virtually. I started officially January 3rd as the Community Development Specialist. My priority, sorry?
I lost you momentarily. I'm sorry, but you're back.
Okay, good. So my priority for right now is our New York Main Street programs. All of those projects currently have a deadline for the end of this year. So it's really important that we make sure those get finished up. And yeah, also just supporting in a project management capacity with other projects and programs as well. Over to you, Sean.
All right, thanks. Hi, I'm Sean. I recognize a lot of people here too. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for bringing me on. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it. So I guess there's three sort of things that I'm working on right now. I'm the tourism specialist. The website is a big one. We just sort of redid the navigation structure of the website, and we're looking at different designs. And now I'm looking at developing content and photos for that. And one second, Lucina, I'm sorry. And then I'm also kind of looking at things in terms of like short-term goals and long-term goals. So short-term goals being sort of like, how do we take the assets we have now and use those to the best of our ability to tell our story and to increase brand awareness. And then in the back of my mind, I'm developing some more long-term goals. So they could be marketing campaigns, videos, ads, things like that. So it's nice to have those things in the background as we're doing short-term goals, because it's a question of, well, what do we need to accomplish these long-term goals to set us up for later this year or even 2023 and beyond. So I'm kind of doing both. I want to get us rolling and get us out there right now with what we have. But while I'm doing that, I want to be thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead as to how this could apply to maybe a bigger picture or a bigger project down the road. So it's kind of double or triple dipping everything we do to get the most value out of everything we gather.
Very good.
And
Thank
I
you.
can keep talking, so I'll just stop there. And if anyone has any questions, just let me know.
Well, thank you,
Questions
Sean.
about appointment? John, Jim Ellis calling.
Hey, Jim.
I went through watching what was going on over here with the previous group that used to be the Tourism Promotion Agency, and they pushed everybody into a nice long discussion. Nothing wrong with what they did, but they already adopted a brand.
Mhm.
I hope we don't wind up 15 brands in Franklin County if we stop and look at the ones that we already have. I'm not judging them, but the one that's here for Tupper Lake, I'm not sure if it's a hand grenade or a pineapple, but that's what they did when they branded themselves.
Right.
So, rather than duplicate a good thing on top of a bad thing, why don't we just check and see who already has brands, which communities have already branded themselves, and then let's take a look at that as quickly as you can get back to us at the next meeting. And I would suggest that our board look at this, especially our tourism agency, to figure out what we have to do to make them sort of dovetail. That's it. Just a suggestion.
No, I think I think you're right on the nose with that, Jim. This overall Adirondack Frontier or Explore Adirondack Frontier, I think is great. But I do think there's value in having some of those the hand grenade brand that you're talking about, and decidedly different for Saranac Lake and whatever other ones are out there, because they do give us a chance to sort of distinguish each community. So it's sort of a twofold effort, right? Like we want them all to stand on their own, but we want to show how they fit together too. So I think there's a really good opportunity to do that here.
I think, Jim, what we'll do is we do need to have a tourism committee meeting, and we can work with Steve to get that scheduled. That could be a topic, because that's something that Sean and Phil and I have been talking about a little bit already. So that's good timing. Good questions, good timing.
It was all deja vu, like Yogi Berra said.
Yeah, I don't think those exist. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you.
Oh, I wasn't talking. Wasn't me this time.
Well, as I look at this year, and I am, grateful to have Sean and Rachel on board, and I feel like there's so much to accomplish, and we're unique as an agency in that we're a public agency, a government agency, but we impact so much of what happens in our county: tourism, business, obviously, the public awareness. So I think this, the marketing and getting out what we're doing, we have enough of history now of our loan program, our tourism impact, and that we really have a lot to talk about. We really have a lot to, and obviously an agency like this is always, we always deal with a measure of criticism from sometimes surprising places, but yet it's our opportunity to talk about what we're doing, to really engage ourselves to continue to grow what we've been doing. So I'm excited to see how we can do that in 2022, because I think we really have, without even adding more ideas, we have covered a lot of ground. We've shown we can make some things happen. Let's get the word out. Let's communicate that confidently, and I have the assurance we can do that. So that's what I see for 2022, and we got the right team to do it, along with Phil and Kelly as well. Appreciate all they do and their role as well. Okay, any other public comments? So we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 8th, 2021.
I
So
will.
moved. This is Art.
Oh, I'll second.
Any thoughts or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, bills and communications. Committee reports. Nothing. That takes us to the treasurer's report. Thank you, Maria, for getting that out to us, and Russ for the loan report. Thank you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay, so you can see in our treasurer's report for the EDC, our total assets are $3,623,000. We, in our profit and loss comparison, you can see that we've been receiving a lot of income, mostly through the tourism occupancy tax under our contract. And those are funds that are allocated or earmarked for different purposes as approved by the tourism promotion plan. We have our expenditures for the month and the year that you can take a look at. And you can see that we have significant income over expenses for this year. But again, a lot of that is tourism occupancy tax and is set aside for some purpose, like our tourism grants or other marketing efforts. And as far as our profit and loss budget versus actual, our tourism work, both the income and the expenses through our budget off as far as our original expectations, but they certainly have canceled each other out. And other than that, I think we've done pretty good with the budget compared to for expenses and income based on what we originally budgeted back in October of 2020 when we completed it. So that's my report.
Very good.
A question, Jeremy, Jim Ellis, where would we be plugging in our proposed expenditures for the year based on the report you just turned out showing how we're going to use our assets? I've lost it here with all these papers.
Oh, how we would use the tourism funds?
How would the draft spending plan that you sent to us earlier? I'm not sure where it is now. There's so many messages this time. Darn. You know what? You made it up and suggested it to us and gave it to us as a document to read, which I did. And I'm not sure where I'm at here with
Was that something specific to tourism?
I think
Or
he's
just-
talking about the strategic plan for 2022, maybe?
you rescued me again, Maria. God bless you.
Okay.
Yes. In
So-
other words, is that reflected in what I see here, or will that come in later?
We've got our new budget that we're now working under that was approved back in October. And the idea
Right.
is that the strategic plan needs to be implemented using the budget that was approved in October. This is just our
Year-end report.
assets and liabilities for and expenses and revenues for 2021.
I sort of suspected that, but I wasn't sure. That's why I had to ask the question. You
Good
remember I was
question.
in Madison for 2 meetings because of my medical things here. So, no, that's good. That answers my question. Thank you.
Pretty good. It's good to see some payment on some of the loans. There. Grateful for that. So entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved, Archie.
Steve will second. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, So there's no old and unfinished business, so it takes us to the new business. We have resolution 2022-01, adopting the required policies. Obviously, the same concerns would apply to this, the procurement policy as was stated in the IDA. But we have a first and a second to bring this resolution to the table.
Steve will remake the motion, this one for the to approve resolution 2022-01. This one for the EDC.
Michael, second.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on these policies?
Just point of information, because 2022-03 has to be changed its title, are we doing this each of these policies as separate? So in other words, we're only voting on 2022-01?
Right. My motion was just for 01, Jim.
Yeah, I want to make sure, that's all.
Any other thoughts or questions? Go ahead, Maria, with the roll call.
Okay, this is to adopt 2022-01, which is adopting our required policies for the EDC. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran,
Yes, I approve.
James Ellis,
Yes.
Steve Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee.
Yes.
Okay, so that's adopted.
Good. So we have resolution 2022-02. Adopting the new and revised policies. With the understanding that the credit card policy gets updated. For the first and the second to bring it to the table.
Who made the
So
motion?
moved. Archie.
Okay.
The first,
Who made the motion before? Was it Archie did the first? Made the motion?
The first time it was Stephen Archie.
Okay, I'll do it
Yeah, it
again.
was 01. Yeah. It was you.
For 02, it was Steve and Archie again?
Okay, so we'll
So
put you
Steve
again. then.
moves. Again,
Okay,
okay, very good. So we have a first and a second. Any discussion or questions before we do the roll call? All right, go ahead, Maria.
okay, so this is for resolution 2022-02, adopting new and revised policies, noting a change in the credit card policy. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran,
Yes, I approve.
James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee.
Yes.
Okay, resolution is adopted.
Okay, very good. Okay, that leads us to resolution 2022-03 to approve the Franklin County Small Business Assistance Program Sub-Recipient Agreement. We have a first and a second to bring this to the table.
Jim Ellis, move.
Steve will second.
All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
It's going to have Russ take the lead on this one.
Okay, so this resolution is to approve a sub-recipient agreement with Franklin County, similar to what we did in the past with the micro enterprise program, where we would manage the grant on the county's behalf for a portion of the admin and program delivery grant money that comes with that. So we would be evaluating applications for the CARES Act funds that Franklin County received for the Small Business Assistance Program. We would manage the grant committee and approvals and the funds that go with it and guide the county through that process.
Do we already know what the amount is that was received for that for Franklin County?
Oh, I think the total was 565,000, and I think 500 of that goes to the actual recipients, and then 65,000 will be distributed between the county and us based upon hours and work product.
Good.
And we have done this before, correct?
Yeah, similar to what we did with micro enterprise grants in the past.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, we're back to that same discussion that I've had for the past 4 or 5 months. And it really dovetails again with what I suggested earlier about isolating somehow within our budget sheet with our reports to the board, the amount of funds that are available for us to use. Here's an example of an opportunity to take some of the money that's coming to us for our program income and begin to set aside into that program that I designed, or I suggested before that we designed as an entrepreneurial hotbed or hothouse, whatever term you want to use, I don't care what it is, but to encourage small entrepreneurs who probably need less than $10,000 to do a business plan and to help do some work that's necessary as part of the Main Street programs. One of the things that we need to do is I think we need to take a look at what each community says it needs in order to make itself more attractive or beneficial to both the people who live there and the people who will be visiting us here in the Adirondack Frontier. So I really would like to ask the board to charge our Audit and Finance Committee or our Treasury Committee, wherever, to set this program up so that we're able to see at just a glance how much we have to be able to help Main Street programs who may need a small amount of money outside of the parameters of the program itself to develop small businesses that would dovetail and be congruent with what it is the people in that community would like and what people feel that tourism needs are to get the community involved in good tourism practices.
Okay, what I would suggest is that, yeah, we'll work on those finance questions through the audit and finance, and then maybe what we could do is take that information and and that could go to the entrepreneur committee. And myself and Russ can work with Madeline and her committee on some recommendations for that.
And I hate to be a stickler about it, but I really think a lot of times we get so involved in what's going on in front of our eyes that we forget to take a look at what's going on in the future and what we need to do. For example, I would like to volunteer to be on the Main Street Program Committee because Tupper Lake has just received $10 million in downtown revitalization income.
Okay, well, we'll get that info together and have that bring it to the entrepreneur committee. That makes sense. I mean, or either both committees. It has a place in both committees.
And, you know, I know Tupper Lake like the back of my hands. The cops, when I was a kid, chasing you down every alley in Tupper Lake. So I have a pretty good idea what's there. I could help the downstreet revitalization people.
It was the other kids, right? That the cops were chasing. It wasn't, you were just watching the other kids getting chased by the cops, right? Is that how it worked?
Chief, honest, really.
I just wanted to clarify on that.
Do the kids need better hiding places?
No,
Maybe that's okay.
no, in fact, some of the buildings that are close together by alleyways and pitch water-filled balloons at the other kids down on the street.
Very good. So, we had a
Jim,
first and
I
a
thought you
second.
were
I'm sorry.
the downtown. Am I wrong?
Hello, Archie.
Hello, pilot to tower. I thought Jim already was on the downtown revitalization committee.
No.
Am I incorrect?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
He currently is not. He's on the Economic
The volunteers.
Development and Governance Committee. Sure what part. Well, okay, we had a first and a second. Can we go ahead with the roll call for 03 resolution, Maria?
Okay, so this is for 2022-03, the approval of the sub-recipient agreement for small business assistance with Franklin County. Jerry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran,
Yes, I approve.
James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
yes,
Madeline Flurry,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee.
yes.
Okay, resolution adopted.
Very good. The it has the county approved this?
No, not yet. We've made the request.
All right. Well, hopefully that can happen soon so we can get this moving forward. Okay, resolution 2022-04. An executive agreement with Adirondack Research. Do we have a first and a second to bring this to the table?
I will make a motion to bring it to the table. Sherry?
but Steve was, Archie seconds, good.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Franklin County Legislature, upon recommendation from TAC last, I believe it was August or September, set aside some occupancy tax funds to be dedicated towards developing trail planning efforts, initiatives, and actual doing trail development work. That was the same, at the same time they authorized expenditures to hire a trail specialist. So one of the first things that we need to do is to understand what trail assets we currently have already in Franklin County, whether they be publicly or privately owned, and whether they be official or less official. We really need to have a good handle on that so we can use that as a baseline and then plan for how to make connections between them, understand what trail assets need improvement or maintenance, and then build and then work on what additional trail assets need to be developed. So I reached out to Adirondack Research in Saranac Lake. They've done some mapping for us in the past. They've done a lot of mapping for different organizations and have a pretty good handle on the trails that do exist in Franklin County, and asked them to provide a proposal for taking us through this important first step on our trail initiative work. So this contract's broken down into a couple different parts. First is doing the asset mapping and really understanding, getting the data pulled together. The second is creating maps for making this all available to our stakeholders in map form, but also making it available for public use so that we could have an actual mapping application online that people could go to and see all of the approved trails in Franklin County. There's also a balance of funding from a balance of the contract would be set aside for them to make maps in conjunction with our trail plan that we will be undertaking. And I'm working with another consultant on a proposed scope of work for that effort, but I would anticipate using Adirondack Research for the mapping component of that, since they're doing this work already. Any questions?
One quick question.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
One
Steve.
quick question, Jeremy. We just approved the procurement policy. This would constitute a sole source contract with Adirondack Research? There are no other bids?
It doesn't count as sole source, but it's a professional service.
Okay, does the way we're doing this, is it fully compliant with what we just approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That was my question as well, because it's over the $2,500. So we don't need to get 3 bids, you're saying?
We don't need to get 3 bids because we certainly could, but we don't need to because it's considered a professional service and not the purchase of an actual good that you can actually bid on.
Okay, and I'm looking, Sherry, at the policy now, and it says, this is my answer, to assist purchase order when selecting a vendor for professional service, the use of a request for proposal or an RFP is encouraged but not required. So we're basically, it's not something which is subject to competitive bidding, if I'm reading the professional services section of this procurement policy correctly, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Good,
Yes,
thanks.
I find that odd. And this is being paid for with what funds?
This is occupancy tax funds that were set aside for the trail initiative by the legislature.
Okay.
So it's actually occupancy tax funds from leftover from 2020.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So my question is, I know we're still looking for bringing on a trail specialist. Now, wasn't this part of their job function as well, as to pull together all the maps and make some comprehensive, list or whatever of this? Wasn't that part of it?
Well, yeah. So right, and then work through implementation of the top priorities that come out of that plan. Yeah, exactly. But the reason, well, there's two reasons that we need to have somebody on board with this. First is we don't have a trail specialist yet, and we want to get moving on some actions that we know we need to do anyway. And 2, it's unlikely that we will have a trail specialist with the GIS expertise that are necessary to do the work that they will be doing. And so we actually see the trail specialist as kind of just kind of the same way that a lot of our staff work, where we kind of the project manager for the initiative overall, but understanding that we will need to bring in different consultants and experts here and there in order to actually do different components of the work.
So now, the 15,000 for this contract, is that a separate bucket of money, I guess, from the occupancy tax that was set aside specifically just for this? Because I know there was money set aside for hiring a trail specialist, but is it one and the same, or is it in addition to?
Yeah, it's the same set aside, and there was money set aside for the salary and benefits for the coordinator, but also for supplies, materials, and consultant services.
Good.
be premature if we were to proceed with the hiring of a trail specialist. If the main tool that they're going to be using is the information and data gathered by Adirondack Research. Correct line of thinking?
You say that again, Archie?
I think we're jumping the gun right now.
Or Archie, could we say that we know that a trail specialist coming on is going to need to have a database to be working with? In a sense, we're enabling that person to be more effective right from the beginning by having this information gathered before that person is hired.
I agree.
That's basically what you were saying?
In a roundabout way, yes.
Okay, good. I agree with you then.
We have not hired a trail specialist yet, and I don't know if we haven't really set a plan in place as to when that would be happening, correct?
Which, the hiring?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to do some interviews very, very soon because we reposted the position and received a couple good resumes. So we're hoping to do that with the committee as early as next week. But there'll still be some time there, and our hope was to get this. This is a fundamental baseline activity that we need, and these folks are really good at it. So I wanted to kind of get it going, and then work on the work with this other firm to look at a scope of work for the plan overall. But ideally, the trail specialist comes in and takes over the management of it that I'm doing right now.
Okay. Right.
So
and Jeremy, if I have this right, when we take the trail specialist on, I think that's a 1-year position, right?
it was funded for 2 years.
Okay.
With
So
the hope that it's successful and that there's a consensus that it needs to continue.
and we know that within that 2 years, there's a lot of work to be done to get a plan put in place and get it vetted with all the various communities and all of that. So, you know, the idea, as Archie was saying, of getting this person on or this firm on and getting this database developed, that allows our trail specialists to come on with, you know, hitting the ground really running and not having to waste what could be a waste of maybe 3 or 4 or more months.
That was the idea
of their time.
That was the idea. Yep.
Okay, I like this.
Hey, Jeremy, question. You said that you were overseeing this acquisition of someone to do this for us. I'm looking at the investment, you know, that they had listed for phase 1 and phase 2. How confident are you that they're in the right ballpark? Just basically meaning they're very aware of what the scope of work is and that they've put in their due diligence to kind of come up with those figures, because it's pretty abstract from the outside looking in without truly knowing what their job involves and entails.
As far as what they wrote in their proposal.
Yes, the actual investment.
Well, I mean, it's an estimate. But if it's always a give and take, but if we find that there's some scope of this that just is way out of sync with what they thought and what I thought, then they might come back and say, this is beyond the scope of work that was agreed to. If we're generally within the scope of work that's written, and I think they understand it. I mean, I had a 45-minute conversation with them. We went back and forth 3 times on this as far as the actual language. So I feel pretty confident that they know where we need to go. I know where we need to go. So I think that this will be our investment for this part of it. What's more unknown is mapping specific mapping requests and also ongoing maintenance of this. And so part of this has just their hourly rate schedule and a reserve between, beyond the $11,000 for that actual work would be on a time and material basis, because we couldn't estimate that part of it. We
Right,
didn't
as
wanna-
I think just from the question I was asking, it really does center around phase 1 and phase 2. Having some exposure to the trails and really taking a look at that from what I know, we have a very vast amount of data that's going to need to be collected, sorted, figured out, to kind of make this happen. So it's a pretty large scale endeavor. So it was a curiosity on our part, like confidence wise, if you say you feel good about it based on everything then that's kind of what I was looking for. It was just kind of like an agreement.
I do, because there are a lot of assets out there. Most of it is mapped in some form or another, either already in GIS files from DEC or GPS information from the snowmobile clubs or a variety of other sources. So it's about bringing it all together and putting it and making sure that the underlying, so you'll see it visually, but they also want to make it so the underlying data is all the same. And that will take some more work, but it's not like they have to go walk, bike, or ride every trail in the county to collect its location, because most of that does exist already.
Okay.
So because of that, I'm pretty confident in that they understand the scope and gave us an accurate price.
Good.
Perfect.
And as of now, you would be the one working with them. And when, and if a.
Oh, right.
specialist
Yes.
is hired,
Yeah.
then-
Really, the idea is to take this and hand it off, but at least it's underway. Because there's a lot that they can do. They know what needs to be done, and they can be working on that. And instead of waiting for the trail specialist. Yep.
Good.
All right.
Who would we be handing it off to? Another,
No, it would be handling, when I said that, I mean, just the day-to-day management of the project and the management of the consultant would be handed off from me to the trail specialist we hire when we do that. That's all. It wouldn't be from one consultant to the other.
okay, so there's no plans to contract with another consultant for management in this down the road?
No, we have plans to use other consultants for different parts, but the trail specialist is supposed to provide the overall management of everything.
Okay. We have the first and the second. Go ahead, Maria, do the roll call, please.
Okay, this is for resolution 2022-04, executing an agreement with Adirondack Research. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran,
Yes, I approve.
James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee.
No.
Okay, resolution is adopted.
Any other public comments before we? I was wondering, you had sent out an email about the strategic plan, didn't you?
Yes, and it didn't make on to here, but I was hoping we could take a few minutes and just go over it quick. I know Sherry needs to leave, but
Yeah.
she's gonna miss the CDC meeting one way or the other, so,
Yeah.
and we need to do executive session. But
Does anyone object to, some comments being made on the, strategic plan?
so 5 minutes, I would say, or less.
Any objections to that? Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I'll share and Sherry, we know that you need to leave, so just thank you being here and
Hop on the call via phone in my travels to my appointment.
okay, got it.
It's at 3, so.
All right, so I shared this with everybody. Now it didn't look like this, but we've been working on putting together our goals, strategies, and actions for 2022. And just wanted to share it with you briefly and see if you had any initial thoughts or feedback as a board that you wanted to send our way. And then we could incorporate those things. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on it today, but I did want to give the board a chance to see it and discuss at least a little bit as a group. We've had several goals over the last few years that pretty much remain the same. And you'll see that reflected in this year's goals as well, with a little bit of a change. We've kind of adjusted goal number 4 to incorporate all of the different priority industries that we have identified in our plans for Franklin County. But other than that, you'll see a lot of overlap with what we've been consistently focused on for the last several years. And these goals come out of 2 places: our understanding of what Franklin County needs for economic development attention, and also the comprehensive economic development strategy that was completed in 2015. I'm certainly not going to read all of the actions, but I just wanted to go through real quick some of our major strategies within each goal. The first is related to doing work in workforce development, housing, childcare, transportation, and communications. These are all topics that have a big impact on the ability for businesses and workers to do their jobs. And so as a result, it's important for us to find ways to be engaged in these efforts. And so we've identified a few actions that you can read yourself that we think where we think our involvement can be useful. A big focus of this plan, now that we've got our team in place and Kelly on board as our marketing and communications manager, is to market ourselves. This goes back to what Justice was talking about. And so we want to make sure we're doing that this year in a way that we've never been able to. We also want to promote our facilities and manage them better. Our entrepreneurial culture goal, that's something that's been around and we really feel strongly about it. And so we want to make sure we're still that we stay focused on supporting businesses in transition. As Russ has talked about previously, this past calendar year, we were able to support in one way or the other 3 different businesses in transition. And we hope to keep at that. And sure.
I just wanted to also add that ANCA is doing a press release highlighting our successes with the 3 business transitions that we've had in Franklin County that I'm aware of. The 2 that we supported at the bowling alley and the Happy Camping RV, and also highlighting Martin's Pretzels transition as well. So that'll give us some good publicity. That should be going out. The press release, I think, went out today.
Good.
We also want to make sure we're continuing to find and administer funds that support entrepreneurs. We operate our co-working and entrepreneurial center in the Cary and Saranac Lake, and we want to look at opportunities to do the same in Tupper Lake and Malone. And we want to, back to this marketing promotion, promote our assets and our strengths when it comes to entrepreneurial culture. Downtowns will continue to remain a focus, and we just heard from Rachel that she is focused on making sure we are administering the existing grant programs well and getting that money to those businesses so that they can do their improvements. We want to promote our downtowns and main streets better and show the value they bring to our communities and our businesses, and find ways to support strategic planning efforts such as the Saranac Lake and Tupper Lake DRIs. And then our goal number 4 is focused on our target industries. And one of those is tourism. And we've talked about that today. Another one is agricultural and food processing. We know that how important that is here. Biotech, we've got some just great biotech companies hidden away in Franklin County, and they do amazing work, and some of them are growing, and we want to support them. And then we have our legacy industry of forestry that is still important to our communities. And same with healthcare and wellness. We want to find better ways to support and promote the institutions and all the great work they're doing. And then a new one that we've added, but which is becoming an important part of the landscape, both physically and as a contributor to the economy, are renewable energy projects. So that's just keeping it brief. That's the overview. And that's the same things that I had sent over the weekend, and would like feedback over the coming, just a little bit today, if you have any, and over the coming days. And we'll make adjustments as necessary, but then this plan will be the basis for what we are doing and focusing on in calendar year 2022. Go ahead, Steve.
If I could just say, I find this impressive. I want to compliment Jeremy and the staff, because we've had and this dovetails on the comment that the chairman made at the beginning of the meeting. We've had a comprehensive economic development strategy in place for about a decade, and you look at elements of that SEDS, and I know when I came on the board, if you asked probably anybody, how are we going to get from here to there? There was a lot of head scratching in a way. There were some things that were obvious and others that weren't. And I think what we have now is a staff. We're staffed with the capabilities to actually implement everything that we have in the SEDS. And the fact that we're now getting down into the weeds in terms of how we're going to move forward, I think is a credit basically to where we are at this point. It's taken years, but we're in a much better place than we were when I first came on and was briefed on the SEDS. I find this really impressive. So thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other public comments? So, entertain a motion to go into executive session, or did you want to?
Yeah, and this would be for the purposes of the sale, lease, or acquisition of property.
Entertain a motion?
Steve will move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim Ellis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is something new to help make our video, our recordings better and more complete. I'm going to be sending all of the board into a breakout room. And that breakout room is not recorded, but the main room will stay on and active so that we don't have a break in our recording. So give me a second to establish a breakout room and I'll send everybody in it. Sean and Rachel, you guys, I'm cutting you free. Thanks for being here, and for the rest of us, hold on a second.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good to see everyone. Bye.
It's good to see you both. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm glad you know how to do this. This is
Putting a lot of faith in him, aren't we?
I'm gonna see if. Let's see. I'm gonna read.
Stop.
No, I don't want to stop the video. Okay.
Entertain a motion to adjourn the LDC meeting. Steve,
Yes. I move.
second.
I'll second. Mike?
Okay. LDC meeting is adjourned. It takes us to the CDC meeting, annual meeting.
Welcome to the, oh, sorry, I gotta keep things in order here.